another episode of The Amanda Hill Show. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the show. This is the first episode for 2021. Thank you for taking the time to tune in, to share your walk, your drive, or your cup of tea with me. Thank you for inviting me into your life in this way. So it feels so fun to have broken the chains of the schedule, the routine of how I show up on the podcast. On recording this, it's Monday the 4th of Jan 2021, and I literally downloaded this message I wanted to share with you last night, and I'm recording. I'm down at Nana Kay's today, and I'm actually recording from my parents' wardrobe. If you're a long time listener, I've been here before a few years ago, and I always love recording in a wardrobe in a small space. Obviously it's better sound for you guys, but it really feels like going into the cave. So the new year. I felt really called to talk about taking the pressure off the new year and to share with you some things that I've been marinating with over this new year. As always, take what resonates for you, leave the rest. But if you're tuning in, there's obviously a message or several messages here for you today. So I always take 1 to 2 weeks off social media around the Christmas, New Year's period, and today being Monday the 4th was like my day back at work as such. I really put aside that container of 2 weeks for myself to be on holiday. So I just always feel so grateful for that time. And, you know, upon opening, I hopped onto Instagram this morning and saw so many New Year's posts. And I'm a bit of a New Year's Grinch. Feels like this little secret I'm revealing. There's some things I love about it, but with New Year's, I feel like there's it's probably always been there, this pressure associated, and it just feels so much for one day, you cross over into this new year and then it's you know, what's your word for the year? What are you going to make of this year? This is your year, new year, new me. None of it resonates with me, to be honest. And I really enjoy being in my own energy during that and just being in my own life during that holiday New Year time. That's just me. And I get it, and I support what works for each person, right? So if it works for you, if it feels right for you to, you know, on the first day of the year, set your goals, do things like that, fantastic. I guess what I want to speak to today is when that doesn't serve you and how to stay in your lane and release any pressure that you might have picked up around this New Year time. I read something last year for the first time that really resonated with me, and it's from one of my favourite writers. There's no surprises here, Tess Skinnery. One of her poems reads this: "The mirage of January gives the new year February. How can 1 year begin without habitudes of space in between? Without habitudes of space in between. Lacuna. Lacuna, an unfilled space. I've always wrestled with the absurdity that a year goes from one to another overnight." Unquote. Oh my gosh, this resonates so much for me. Oh, the first time I read this last year, I was like, oh, that is what I just yearn for in January, is like a sense of spaciousness. And this poem has really been with me over the last few days. Because we had a bit of a twist and turn for our New Year's, because we were holidaying up in New South Wales. And then we were told the borders were closed, so within a couple of hours we'd packed up halfway through our holiday, and we spent New Year's Eve at the border crossing in standstill. So, and all in all, a 16-hour drive. So the whole, spend the first day of your year the way you want to spend the year was not super relevant for me this year. So I love this word that Tess uses, the mirage of January, because I really feel January has this like dreamy energy for me, and I'm still very much in that like holiday energy, and I'm really enjoying being in that. And for me, all of the like New Year's pressure feels so polar to that dreamy energy. As I was driving down to my mum's today, I was thinking about how the personal development world takes hold of different things, become a thing. I don't know how else to explain that. But I was comparing it in my mind to how like romantics really grab onto like Valentine's Day, anniversaries, and maybe even New Year's. Like, I'm a massive romantic, so I'm not exempt from that. But it's a different energy with, I feel like things become in. It's like it becomes cool to have a word for your year, or it becomes expected. There's a sense of expectation of you must reflect on the year that was, you must plan for the year ahead, otherwise you're going to fail. Like, all of this becomes said in a subliminal way. I think it's meant to be inspiring, but sometimes it can actually end up placing pressure. So then comes the discernment for us individually of what's inspiring for us, what would serve us, and what wouldn't? What creates pressure or stress? So the paradox of perhaps I want to feel more ease this year, and then at the same time, perhaps this year I have to force myself to do X, Y, and Z, or I've failed. Like, I have to meditate every day this year, or I have to or I've failed. See how those two actually don't match up? The doing of the rituals that we have always done, or that we're saying to ourselves we have to do, or we'll have a shit year, or must achieve this by end of Jan, or I've failed. I believe that this all holds us back. And the missing piece, I think, here, what I'm getting to, is the importance of rest, like actual rest, which can also mean rest from personal development too. Giving yourself space to be bored, to reflect. Now again, I'm speaking, if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably noticed the title around taking the pressure off New Year's, and so this is something that you want. And so that's who I'm speaking to. That's me. I like taking the pressure off New Year's. So this is what I'm speaking to. If you're in a different season, a different state where you're feeling really action orientated right now, fantastic. Oh, I always feel like I have to say that, but I'm like so sick of saying that. Like I'm so sick of saying, this isn't you, don't, but it's just, yeah, it's important. Okay, so sitting in the space of boredom, I think it's really underestimated. If you've done my restorative yoga series, it's available on my website if you ever want to dip in. One of the classes is called The Magic of Boredom, because it gives us so much. I believe that on the other side of, during boredom, there's so much to be said for the deep rest, the relaxation, the unwinding of the nervous system, the reflection, the reminiscing, processing, assimilation. And then on the other side of boredom, I believe that we are drawn to what we actually truly desire and what actually excites us. Because boredom gives us that pause in between going from one thing to the next. From boredom so often comes a sprout of actual new life. So when I mention around self-care practices, I'd recommend tuning into what practices do I actually want to do? What things am I doing because I feel like I should do? And what is it that I feel like actually doing the most? For example, I was so exhausted after our massive drive home that I spent this whole weekend pretty much watching Friends reruns all day. It's what I felt like doing the most. And it was just so enjoyable. So enjoyable. We brought the bed onto the lounge room floor, and so Sophie was crawling all over the top of me and playing with her toys, and I was just watching Friends and hanging with her and eating, and I was bored at times, and then I was just so enjoying it at other times as well. So where does your energy most want to go? What do you most want to do with January? If you can give yourself this, as I said, this mirage, as Tess Skinnery said, the mirage of January. How does that feel as I'm saying that? Because for me, it just feels so much more spacious and feels like a relief. What if we don't have to have it figured out by the 2nd of Jan? The mirage of January. The pause. Would that give you time to be bored, time to rest, time to relax, without having to establish new routines, to just be? And allow the energy of the new year to come towards you rather than you going towards it. The only thing, personal development or spiritual wise, that I dived into, actually I'm reading a book, Untamed by Glennon Doyle at the moment. I'm loving that. But I also watched a video from one of my mentors, Lauren Aletta, and I'll put it in the show notes. And it was a download that she channeled about 2021. And she was speaking about assimilation. She was talking about how what we might be sensing is like going between like this fresh 2021 energy and then back into 2020. And she felt that 2020 energy wouldn't be wrapped up until 3 months into this year. And it really resonated for me because I've been getting a lot of hints about what the energy of this year for me personally, and I've been in that energy, you know, even for the last couple of months of 2020, I was getting hints of that. And while we're on holiday, I was actually like fully in that 2021 energy. And then when we came back home, I felt like I went straight back to 2020 energy. And 2020 wasn't a bad year for me personally in any way. It was an incredible year. But the energy just feels older now. I can really sense the two. And you might be listening, just want to say it's 11:11. So blessings to everyone. You might be feeling this dance as well. And Lauren just really normalized that. She was like, this is what we call like assimilation, like integration. And this is really normal and natural. Right now we're assimilating the new energy. So it's really normal to go between the two. Like that transitional space. And this, again, I'm sharing this with you because this might feel like the pressure coming off again, as though we don't have to be in that new energy 24/7 from January 1st. It's absurd. It's bizarre to expect that, I think, in my experience. So to be in the transition, to be enjoying dancing with that new energy, and to also be tying up the loose ends from 2020, making sense of what the year was for you, and for it not to be really linear one day to the next, but for it to actually be in this mirage of January. Yeah, so I myself haven't got like a word for this year. And last year I actually didn't have a word. Just nothing came for me, and I just rolled with that, probably because I couldn't put 2020 into words. I was speechless most of the year. But that has served me in years past, and it has just naturally come forth. So I'm intrigued as to whether one comes this year. It hasn't yet. There are, a few words, feelings, even music that I go, this year sounds like that, or it feels like that. It just feels really nice to be in that sense of letting go, of needing that. So you might have your word, yay, or like me, you might be still feeling in. Either way, not forcing, just flowing. To me, forcing feels rigid, and I don't like that feeling, and that's not the feeling I would want to be in for the year. So why would I put that into my planning or dreaming for the year? See what I mean? If I want to feel good this year, which at the heart of it, like, we all want to feel good, then feeling bad or feeling stressed or feeling pressured whilst planning the year, whilst dreaming into the year, won't take us there. Interesting, hey? You're not doomed if you haven't done your gratitudes or your journals or your meditations. Here's my invitation. This is what I offer to myself. This is what I would like to invite you into. It's a new year. Can you give yourself space to see, to feel what you are actually sensing about what this year means for you? What does your heart and soul actually want? And if you don't know, can you allow yourself not to know? Can you be in the surprise and the romance of a fresh relationship? 2021, we're all in a new relationship with this year. So sitting in that space, that pause, that dream, without it having to be here now. Sitting in the dreamy space of what could be possible for me this year. This is such a fun place to play when we don't have to have it actualized yet. So see how if we're putting pressure on ourselves to know what our year is, we've assumed that we know better than the universe. Because I believe if we can sit in stillness, in now, in what we actually most want to do right now, then the universe taps on our shoulder with hints when we least expect it, when we're just living. Like, is it a coincidence that I allowed myself to do what I most wanted to do over the weekend? And then 7 o'clock last night, creativity, this message this podcast episode tapped me on the shoulder. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. Because I always find that when I'm being in my life, when I'm not forcing things, is when the creativity knocks on my door in the most beautiful and natural and surprising way. Sit in that pause and notice what keeps coming in for you. This is really interesting to notice. So when we're just living and being, and then we're getting those little hints. Like last week I was walking down to the beach where we were we were in a cabin, so where we were staying at a caravan park. We could walk down the track just to the beach, and each morning waking up, going to check the surf first thing, and I was walking down and I just had this full body sensation come over me of like, this is what this year is about. This feeling, this is what this year is about. Doing things like this, feeling like this. And that came just from me being in my life, not in me overthinking it or trying to grasp at what's this about and the plan and da-da-da-da-da. Just being, just waking up and doing what I most felt like doing. From that place is where I feel closest to the universe. It's where the universe taps me on the shoulder. It's where it speaks to me. I'm going to invite us into a nice deep breath. Come with me. A nice deep breath into the belly. And out. And in. And out. Allowing the presence of your soul to reveal itself, breathing in and out. Asking your soul this question: how can I take the pressure off a new year? Allowing the answer to come forth for you in this moment. And now I just want you to notice how you feel after getting that guidance. I'm sure it feels really amazing to have got that guidance from yourself. Not from what someone else is saying this year is about. Not from what someone else is saying that you need to do during your New Year's to make sure you have the best year. Just from yourself, from your soul. And if you've been sitting with yourself and the answers aren't coming, maybe just put it to the side for a while and be in the mirage. Allow yourself to be bored. let go of doing things for the sake of doing things. I think what I've really enjoyed over these holidays, and even though I'm back making some magic today, I'm still very much in that holiday energy. It feels like to me like it did when I was younger and I was on holidays. And it's like that feeling of waking up and going, what do I want to do today? And I think when we're kids, we're so good at just like doing what we want to do. So I think coming back into that energy is really powerful. Like, what did you want to do before something was labelled as better, worse, good, bad? What do you want to do just because? Welcoming that energy in. All right, I'm wishing everybody at that a really happy new year. I'm really excited to continue dancing with you this year, and thank you so much for your presence. If you're not already, my email list is a great place to be because they'll be the first to know when new podcast episodes land. So you can sign up to that via my website if you haven't already, or subscribe to the podcast so that you know as soon as they land. Thanks for being with me today. I hope this has been really, really helpful for you. Have a beautiful day and a beautiful year your way. Yeah? All right.